We're in Chesterfield, Michigan, fixing a yard that was so soggy, so wet. It was just ridiculous on the side of this house. It was really hard to put this drain in, actually. We made a mess. There's going to be a lot of cleanup, but the homeowner's going to be really happy. So we ran a double piped French drain with 2 cleanouts. I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to go through everything. All right, we're taking a French drain. Nice and smooth that trench bottom is. So this is blue clay. We run into it a lot. We got a smooth nose bucket. That bucket does not have teeth. That's how we get the bottom of the trench so smooth. It's a custom bucket. It's like an assembly line. Yeah, it's really wet here. Down the side of this house, water gets trapped. We got really good slope away from this house. The neighbors, they're actually lower, so this is going to help the neighbors too. This is pretty cool that they're having this done, actually. Usually the high house is not the house that ends up paying for it to get done. Now this is non-woven geotextile filter fabric. It's special fabric, it's not weed barrier. You can see there's a bunch of little holes punched in this fabric. Thousands and thousands of little holes punched in that fabric. That's going to up its flow rate. We're going to grab a couple of downspouts too. So the downspouts, they were ran in triple wall. Triple wall is the cheapest pipe there is. There's nothing cheaper than triple wall. It's not very good. We always rip it out. It doesn't have no UV protection. And when it's up against the house, tied to a downspout, it just cracks and it fails. So this is usual. This is normal. You get a bunch of water off a patio, and it's just pouring in sheets. These wet spots, this is very typical, the way you see this. You have this huge patio, all the water's coming off of it. Right in here, it just lays. The yard gets real flat through here. It's not enough slope. Now over here, just an insane amount of slope. I mean, it's just insane. So when the water does come off the patio here, it runs to the back, and it's not an issue. It leaches throughout that green belt. But when it comes off over here, this is flat. It doesn't have that steep grade over here. So we did a T right here, which is kind of common. We do these a lot. We take the affected area, run a French drain, tee off of it, get it over here to the main. We have this French drain running up the property line. Now the guys, they already cored and tapped. Look at this. All right. This is the way you do a core and tap. You see how it's at the very bottom of the trench. But you see that core? They cored right through the sidewall of that storm drain catch basin. That's what you have to do to get the water out of this yard. Now that storm drain catch basin is only for flood water. When there's so much water and it's not being taken in by the grass is saturated, it's coming down, it's a flash flood, getting 3 inches in 45 minutes, then that'll take in surface water. But it's not going to take in subsurface water unless you core a hole through. So we use a core drill. This is the way you want to do it. If you're not at the very bottom of the trench, you're not going to drain all the water out of the French drain. Also, the guys, as they got closer to the storm drain catch basin, they dug deeper. So all the water falls out of this French drain. This is perfect. This is textbook. It don't get any better than this. That's why I wanted to share it with you. This guy's going to get his yard back. He's been dealing with a lot of water. Now, landscape normally does hold up water. So this beautiful landscape in the corner for a little bit of privacy. So you just can't see straight into the yard. there's nothing wrong with it, but just know you're going to have to do a French drain. The water's going to want to get held up right up against that landscape. That's typical. And water has a hard time running out of really thick bluegrass. We got beautiful bluegrass here in Michigan. So yeah, we're going to run into issues with the bluegrass. All right, so we have 3.5 inch going in on this job. We have the perforated 3.5 in white so that you guys can easily see the difference between what's perforated and what's solid, because we're going to have some downspouts ran in this. Figure we'll color code it, make it really easy for the homeowners. Now remember, your perforated pipe has to be at the bottom. You always want your perforated pipe at the bottom of the trench. Your downspout lines should be on the top of the trench. You can see the perforations. There's 8 slots all the way around this pipe. So basically the holes are on the bottom. They're on the sides. They're on the top. The holes are everywhere. That's why we love corrugated pipe for French drains. Wouldn't change that for anything. I think doing a PVC system is doing the homeowner a big disjustice, because there's only holes on the bottom of the pipe. It's going to get you in trouble when there's some sediment that builds up later on down the road. Sure, it'll work well enough for you to get paid, but after a couple years, is it still working? No, the PVC always plugs. All the sediment settles to the bottom of the trench. So when there's just holes on the bottom, it's a problem. When you have 8 slots all the way around the pipe, sides, top, bottom, no matter how much sediment builds up in that trench, you're going to have inlets to take in the water. So the system's going to continue to work over the years. It's a really long system. It spans the entire lot, down the side of the house, all the way to the back corner, where it ties into a city storm drain. Guys are really moving. Let's get some video here for you. So they're putting the clips on. These are the narrow clips for the 3.5 inch pipe. They're the light blue, which is the same exact color as all the fittings for 3.5. So it's color coded. These pull the pipe nice and tight, nice and close. You're going to get more void that way because stone can't get underneath the pipe. So there's an actual void where the two pipes come together on the bottom that'll flow water. We have a solid downspout line coming in. Guys just put on the catch basin. We got the light blue clips. Now, anywhere you see white pipe in this video, it's going to be perforated pipe, and it's in 3.5. Anywhere that you see blue pipe, it's going to be solid pipe. And we did that for a reason, to make it easy for you to see the solid pipes versus the perforated pipes. Now, this is such a long system that when a 100-foot roll runs out, you have to put on a coupler. So we have a couple couplers, but you don't have to tape them on the perforated pipe because you're trying to let the water in. We got the solid line. It's a 3.5. Everything in the trench right now is 3.5. We got clips. We got clips holding the bottom pipes. We got clips holding the top pipe to the side of the bottom pipes right here. We love the clips. It holds everything straight. We got another downspout right here that merges into the system. At this point, we go from 3.5 inch solid to 4 inch solid. I'm going to run this all the way to the storm drain. And the guys have been using the 3.5 inch clips when they want to take a 3.5 to a 4. They're pretty pliable. Every once in a while, you'll see one from us walking on them and stuff, but they actually bend. They're super pliable. We got the 3.5 inch Ys, so we're able to connect these two onto that parallel run. I'll take you up here and show you what this looks like. We literally just go left and right, put a clean out on each one. Again, this is all perforated. Super wet in here. Always soggy. We're going to tighten this right up. Got another clean out. We can run a camera through that. We can run a power washer through there if we wanted to clean the sediment out. We come over here and we need a manifold. So you can see this beautiful manifold. We got a Y and a 45 in 3.5 to grab the two perforated white pipes on the bottom. Then we have a 3.5 to 4 reducer with a piece of 4-inch corrugated pipe. We snap it into a 4-inch 45. That then goes into a 4-inch Y. We have that 4-inch solid for the downspouts. Super long run. Just like we always do, we core drill it really nice. And then we use hydraulic concrete. This is how you always want to do your core and taps to a storm drain. Now we're going to fill this in with stone. And I like using a 3/4 inch rock. It's going to hold all the pipe together. It's going to make it really strong. And since we got 2 perforated pipes at the bottom of the trench, our drain's going to last the homeowner a lifetime. Those single piped French drains fail. People always say, why do you put 2 pipes in your trench? Because they don't fail. We know what failure looks like, and failure looks like when you only dig wide enough for 1 pipe and you only put 1 pipe in. The guys that do that are cheating the homeowners. They don't want to give them the second perforated pipe. They don't want to give them the extra stone, and they don't want to have to haul away that extra amount of dirt. So you have a contractor, in spite of how professional he may act and be, and how professional his YouTube channel might look, if you see him running 1 single pipe for a French drain, he's cutting corners. And the corners that he's cutting is going to cost you, the homeowner, when you have to tear the system out and redo it. Now the guys are cleaning up, but you can see that downspout's nice and straight. Worked really hard to get it there. Over here, whenever you go under the concrete like this, the smaller diameter pipe you go with, the easier it is to work with. So Patrick's taken some 3-inch and he's pulling it underneath this walk, and he's going to pull it up through that hole that the men cored. And again, the smaller the diameter pipe, the better this is going to work, because there's no way you're getting not quite a 90 under there. You're going to struggle. And there's no need for it, especially with a 2x3 downspout. You cannot max out that 3-inch line with a 2x3 downspout. It is impossible. So we got another downspout right here. Guys did a great job. So here we did get the not quite a 90 on, which was fantastic.
I think I got a more.
So this is French Drain Man's 3-inch coupler. We have in black and white, depending on if your leaf filter is white or if your leaf filter is black. That'll connect us to the 3-inch pipe right there. All right, so we have a leaf filter. We got the 3-inch coupler. So we adapted it down to the 3-inch, connected the 3-inch pipe. We got some 4-inch dual wall to black it out and to make it look like all the rest. A lot of work just to get underneath that sidewalk. But we like our downspouts to be nice and straight on the house. They look terrible when they're crooked. So we got a 3-inch to 3.5-inch reducer. Lente's going to go ahead and put 7 ribs of 3.5-inch pipe, connect to a 3.5-inch Y. Now we'll be able to connect that 3-inch pipe that we're putting underneath that walk. We're hooking that 3-inch pipe to that 3-inch reducer that we showed. We're going to tape that up. When you tape it up the way the guys are taping it up, this system's going to last your lifetime. No problems. So a 3-inch line to a 3-inch catch basin. And then tape up where the pipe goes onto the fitting and where the fitting goes onto the catch basin. Make sure you do that. This gets missed all the time. And now that's a good quality seal. A lot of work for one downspout, but when it's done right and it looks good. All right, so we got to wash the concrete. Obviously, we got to wash the parts. But this is really straight, and that's what we were shooting for. A real nice straight downspout. Instead of this being hooked up the way it was, where it gets, there's like a 90 and then a 90, which that don't flow water. We know that. 2 90s don't flow water. A lot of work, but we think it's worth it. It's the attention to detail, and it's the details that matter. Now the guys are putting the sand out. This is that drain sand where we had all the clay sediment washed out of it. You got to have sand. It's got to be washed twice. That's what gets the sediment out. You know, all the clay sediment, the real fine clay. So that'll affect the way the sand works. We want to close this up, pin it, and then put sand on it. See, it's going to take about a year for the grass roots to grow through the fabric. But until that happens, the sand on top of it, in between the sod and the fabric, will allow the top of the drain to be permeable. So water on the surface can find its way into the French drain system. All right, so the guys are pinning the fabric right now, and then they're going to cut the fabric. Why are they going to cut the fabric? Well, you don't want a heavy overlap. Let me show you. So if you have a layer of fabric and a layer of fabric, the water's not going to run through all those holes that are punched in it, because you can't line up millions of little holes. You just can't. So the guys are going to cut the fabric, all that excess. What they do is they pin it first, and then they leave just like 3 inches overlap. So basically, this side of the French drain, this side of the French drain takes in water. This little bit right here where it's doubled up, it'll have a hard time taking in water, but it's not going to be an issue because we got it on both sides of the French drain. So you can see how the guys have this 6A natural stone. This is septic field stone in Michigan. I always recommend septic field stone no matter where you live, and I'll tell you why. Because they screen it and they wash it because the health department demands it, or it doesn't pass inspection. So we can't really get the machine in here the way this is. So the guys are wheelbarrowing the stone. This is going to hold and lock all that plumbing together. And because we put the clips on it, it's holding it nice and straight. So once you cut the fabric, the excess, you go ahead and you put your drain sand on top. Now we can take in all that surface water. A year from now, all the sod is going to root through all those little holes that are punched in this fabric. The double punch fabric works really well for us. When the grass roots grow through it, the water follows the grass roots. Just through the law of physics and gravity, that's what happens. Capillary action too. When you got roots growing through it, it pulls all the water from the surface down into the French drain. Well, we got to wait a year for that to happen. But we don't want our French drain to perform poorly while we wait for that to happen. So we put sand on top. Now the water will run right through the vein of sand, through the fabric. We've perfected the French drain and all the components within it. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. It supports the channel. If you have any questions regarding this installation, leave them in the comments section. I'm your host, Robert Sherwood, and until the next video.